Good afternoon, dear colleagues. My name is Valery Ilin. I am an alumni of Tsetserukou University of Science and Technology, and I would like to present the technology called DeepScanner, a robotic system for automated 2D object dataset collection and annotations. Manual inventory of large industrial warehouses can be dangerous, expensive, and ineffective, but the key disadvantage of manual inventory is the human factor, which results in an error rate of 5.1%. Where Vision, the technology presented by our team, successfully resolves this problem. It uses a drone with a camera to detect and recognize barcodes in warehouse. While testing the system, the following issues have been discovered. There is no possibility to quickly add a new type of identification tag, like QR code, barcodes, or others, and the dataset size of the system is too small for robust operation in varying lighting conditions. For object detection, the system uses a semantic segmentation neural network to classify an image on two classes, barcodes and not barcodes. To train a model, we have collected a large dataset. A good result was obtained with a recognition precision of 91.61%. However, this precision not enough to compensate for the human error rate, which is about 5%. To collect and label this dataset manually, more than 100 hours of work was spent. A segmentation mask was used as a label for this dataset, meaning that it's necessary to place anchor point for each barcode in the image. Later, when analyzing these manual layouts in details, I noticed that the dataset contains multiple pixel errors. The problem of pixel errors in manual dataset labeling is not new. This problem is present in any projects that deal with the manual labeling of the dataset. For example, considering one of the biggest datasets, the Cocoa dataset. This dataset consists of more than 200,000 labeled images, and still the result labels have many pixel errors. The examples of these errors are presented in the slide. According to the recent paper of Wired Journal, the foundation of AI are riddled with errors. Each manually labeled dataset contains approximately 6% of errors. This happens manually because of low qualified workers that label images. Automatization in dataset collecting and labeling is currently being extensively researched. One of the most popular services for automating segmentation from Amazon shows very impressive results, but also has pixel errors. The developers used an machine learning model that was trained on the manually labeled dataset, and this dataset in its turn may contain errors as it was mentioned earlier. Next, the paper of Stamp about semi-automating labeling tool for RGBD video sequences shows excellent results on speed and precision with labeling automatization. However, in the tools they use a fixed camera, so the collected dataset might not work on camera in other position. Finally, the paper of De Giorgio describes using a 6-DOF robot and Aruco tags for labeling images with 3D boxes. It is also an interesting technology that allows to significantly reduce dataset collection time considering manual labeling. However, this technology does not cover our problem and does not allow making a segmentation dataset. Our system consists of a 6-DOF industrial robot to get a precise position of the end effector. The robot's repeatability parameter is presented in the slide for each of the axes. To make this graph, we moved robot to random poles and returned it to the original position 300 times and measured the position of the end effector with internal robot sensors. The absolute value of the offset did not exceed 50 micrometers. That makes this device super precise for position controlling. Also, we used a Raspberry Pi camera that allows to capture an image and a range sensor to define the initial range to the board with tags. To get data augmentation for the experimental stand with barcodes, we generate real-time color masks with the various color temperatures using a short focus projector. Colors change from cold blue to warm yellow to create additional augmentation on colors of 2D objects. Finally, we developed a special UI instrument that allows to label necessary objects. Our software layout is presented in the next scheme. As we see here, the operator labels images with a UI frontend component, then this data is transferred to the automatic labeling algorithm. To collect data from all sensors, a special model was developed. Then this data is sent to the same automatic labeling algorithm. Finally, the result of this algorithm is a folder with a new automatically labeled dataset. Then this dataset is ready to be used in neural network training. After training, we can validate and test our model visually and with several metrics on additional dataset that can be collected with our technology. The approach for automatic labeling of 2D objects in the image is based on the initial position of the end effector of the sixth of robot, the picture from the camera, and the current position of the end effector. First, we need to prepare for the automatic labeling. To do this, in this specially developed UI component, we receive the original frame from the camera installed on the industrial robot. Then we need to precisely label only one frame to get the initial anchor points of barcodes on the frame. After launching the system, an industrial robot makes random movements to make physical augmentation on the position. For each new frame, we get new position and images from the camera. Then we make transformations on initial anchor points with some math equations that was presented in our paper. Finally, after mask transformations, we save them as new masks in the required format and then analyze the next frame. The full coordinate of mask points transformation is presented in the algorithm in the slide. Input parameters are coordinate of initial anchor points, which is also constant always, and current transformation matrix of camera with respect to base of sixth of robot. For each point of each mask, our algorithm makes transformation from 2D coordinates to real world. Then it makes projection of 3D point with camera parameters. Finally, it merges coordinates of masks to the final set and transforms to the necessary format. In our case, we made transformation to JSON format. To validate the automatic dataset labeling approach, we compared three methods: manual labeling, our DeepScanner method, and an additional approach that we called Auto Aruco. The main difference between Auto Aruco and ours is that instead of using the robot position, we can use the Aruco text position of the place marks to estimate the position of camera. We can see these labels on board in the scheme, which is presented in the slide. This approach is cheaper, but this method reduced the available area of camera movement. During experiments, the Aruco tags were often out of the camera FOV, so the localization was performed on 1, 2, 3 out of 4 tags, which further reduced its accuracy. For the experiments, a stand was developed containing a set of many types of 1D barcodes, only vertical lines. Also, to understand the labeling errors of objects, for not pixel errors during manual labeling, additional extra 2D barcodes and QR codes were added, which according to the condition of the experiment do not need to be labeled. The idea of first experiment consists in comparing the indicator of time and labeling accuracy for three methods: manual, automated labeling based on the position of Aruco, and automated labeling based on DeepScanner technology. As a result, for manual labeling, the average for all participants of the experiment was 92.3 seconds. To compare different approaches of data labeling, the following three metrics were selected. First is mean frame time, is the time spent labeling a single frame. For automated labeling, the time spent on labeling the first frame is evenly distributed to all labeled frames. The next metric is mean object error. It is percent of unlabeled or incorrectly placed object in the image for the entire sample. If the overlap of labeled area related to the original area was more than 75%, the object was considered correctly labeled. Final metric is mean pixel error, is the number of incorrectly placed pixels. To obtain this metric, we randomly selected 20 frames, then labeled them up with high accuracy manually without a time limit, and compared them with the usual manual labeling results. The experimental results revealed that our developed approach DeepScanner is better than others, and DeepScanner makes labeling 260 times faster than manual labeling, simultaneously reduced pixel errors 14 times, and makes zero object error in the labeling process. The second experiment is based on the use of labeled data obtained earlier to test the training of neural network. As a neural network architecture, we choose previously described architecture based on UNet with several modifications. The neural network was transferred for each of the proposed data collection method. Each approach used the same original images with the appropriate labeling. Each dataset consisted of 400 images. The comparison results of three approaches for the selected metrics are presented in the slide. The result obtained using the proposed approach demonstrate high value of intersection over union and precision. The precision of 94.81% in comparison with the indicators obtained earlier is an indicator of the increase in accuracy due to the new data collected using our automated approach. We have developed DeepScanner, a robotic system for automated data labeling of 2D objects in the image. The system consists of a 6-DoF articulated robot, a camera, and sensors that allows to capture images and automatically labeled data on them. Our approach of data labeling significantly increases the dataset size. It also enhances the speed of data labeling 240 times and the accuracy of labeling compared to manual labeling 13 times. We also trained a convolutional neural network model using a collected dataset. With the same architecture, the model obtained from automatically collected data using our approach had an increase in intersection over union on train and validation data, and the precision metric on test data increased by 4.84% compared to the model trained on manually labeled data. Thank you for your attention. Now I am ready to answer your questions.